welcome to Your Great Human Adventure. I'm Dr. Michelle Peticolas, founder of Secrets of Life and Death and Second Chance Secrets. And today we're going to be talking about the mind again. But this time we're going to talk about the part of the mind that encases or houses the ego. Why is the ego so important? Because that is the part of the brain that drives us crazy, that makes demands on us, that tells us that we're not good enough, or that we're not safe, or that other people aren't safe. It's that sense of individual self, separate and alone from everybody else. I've been reading some books. One book is about trauma and how that impacts the brain, and the other one is about the use of psilocybin in expanding consciousness and healing trauma and healing other diseases like alcoholism or stress and anxiety towards dying or depression, a whole bunch of things. It's very, very interesting material. Neuroscientists have actually been able to map out the brain and figure out where certain structures are, like of course the brainstem and where memory resides and how memory is transmitted through the different parts of the brain. What's interesting about the psilocybin research is that our experience of the world, how we see things that are around us, is actually tightened down, tapped down. The volume is turned down, and when you take psilocybin, your sensory awareness goes on steroids. It's just like, whoa, everything is like amazing. And part of it is because when you're on psilocybin, you turn off the ego part of your brain. The interesting thing is they actually found out where that part of yourself, that self-conscious, self-aware, self-important part of yourself exists. And it's in, get this, the default mode network. The default mode network. Where do they get these names? It took me a long time to even remember that. Default mode network. It's somewhere in the middle of the brain. And it is sort of like the valve or the gateway to a lot of other things that go on in your world. It can turn down the volume of your sensory experiences so that you can actually focus and get things done. I mean, if you were kind of like in that psychedelic mode, you might not be a very good hunter because you'd be like paying attention to the pebbles on the ground. So the interesting thing is that when you turn down that conscious self, that self-awareness, that sense of you as individual, you enter into sort of a spiritual consciousness, that brilliance that I've been talking about in my other videos, this sense of being part of the whole, part of the one, an expanded sense of who you are. And some of these people who have these illnesses that do the work with the psilocybin, it actually gives them a reprieve for a while because it gives them a wider viewpoint. You don't need to take psilocybin to get there. Actually, meditation works really, really well, but you have to do it really, really well. If you check out some of my other videos on Brilliance, I actually give you some various forms of meditation that aren't as difficult as just sitting and trying to stop your brain, which this is a feisty fellow, this guy in the default mode connection network. It is very noisy. And to quiet it down, you need to go into an altered state. Really tap into your theta waves. And that takes practice. And I have to admit that before I ever got good at meditating, I had done a fair amount of psychotropic or psychedelic drugs. So I don't know if that actually made it possible. I do know that when I got into those exalted states, I no longer needed any kind of drug interference. And in fact, drug interference interferes with those spiritual states, but it may have given me an awareness of where I could go. However, there are people out there who meditate who have never had psilocybin or any of those other psychedelic drugs. So if you persevere, you can get there. Oh, I'm running out of time. So the main thing is to be aware of that part of your mind, which can, the self-consciousness, this ego can be a great servant, but it is a horrific master, and it can drive you crazy. So try some of your meditation techniques when your brain is driving you crazy. Instead of the usual, distraction activities that we do, try meditation. It will actually calm the mind as well as the body. That's it for today. Be brilliant.